Hi guys, I'm Erin and this is Erin Go Read. I'm gonna do a reading vlog this weekend. I have just not been doing enough reading lately, and to be honest, I've been in a bit of a kind of existential crisis, I would call it. Partially accidentally medically induced or medicinally induced. So I had this really just awful feeling like 2 to 3 weeks. I took a trip to Nashville at the end of June for a business trip. It was amazing. I actually got to hang out with Doris on my last day. She came and picked me up at my hotel, and then we went to really great lunch, and we went to Paper Source, which I'd never been to before, and we got some really good ice cream, and she took me to the airport, and so I just had a really nice kind of few hours with Doris, so that was amazing. Came back, had like the worst period symptoms I've ever had. I've had in probably like 2 years. And that kind of was like the beginning of this funk that I was in, like the very end of June, beginning of July. And it wasn't until last Thursday, so like a week and a couple days ago, randomly I'm driving and I realized that I haven't been taking my ADHD med. So not only was I not getting the benefit of the prescribed medicine that I need to help me function, but I went on this like crash detox from it, and I felt terrible. But there was kind of the side benefit, I guess, of kind of as I was in this really just kind of like low, crappy place, sleeping way more than I normally sleep and just trying to figure out what was wrong with me, basically. I had some good realizations about myself and just kind of the direction that I want to be going, like with my own personal growth. And all that. And I think in large part because as a job, I coach other people, in much of kind of our nutrition and fitness and the way that we feel about our body and food and exercise is very, 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 very much a kind of internal self-worth. There's a lot of emotional, psychological stuff that is bound up in that. I think that's kind of just where I go, right? And so one of the things that I realized that the other day was that I've been really just not doing the things. I feel like there's like a dog hair on my lip. There was. Really not been doing the things that really bring me joy. Instead, just kind of having the instant gratification of just being kind of like happy to be doing whatever I'm doing in the moment, and kind of letting that steal the little bit more hard sought joy, if that makes any sense. It's still kind of a concept that I'm rolling around in my head, this idea of like happiness being more on the instant gratification side and joy being more on the delayed gratification side of things. And this is in reference to more like behaviors, choices, rather than like relationships and people, because people can definitely bring you joy. So anyhow, with that said, I would like to very intentionally spend some time doing something that brings me a lot of joy this weekend, and that is reading. And so I think I'm going to try to like set chunks of time where like I'm going to be reading during this time, doing almost like a Pomodoro technique, 30, 45 minute chunks or so of just reading, and kind of use like, my meditation practice even to help me to stick with it. So as I've been using time blocking in my work schedule, which is really helping, knowing that there's time set aside for this other thing that might distract my mind enables me to be like, oh, nope, okay, I'm doing that later. Now is time for this. And I think that's kind of like part of that meditation practice of when your mind gets distracted and you bring yourself back. So I think that's really working for me here. So I want to do that today. So I have ambient world on in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. This is Virgin River from the Netflix show. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a lovely, river, tranquil, naturey thing going on with some nice guitar music in the background. So I'm enjoying that. This plant, by the way, when I get out of the shower, if I've washed my hair gets really like fluffy, I guess. It's like almost feels too clean, and it reminds me of that plant. Anyway, so I think I might just like track just like how many hours of reading can I get done over the weekend. I do need to do some work today and actually have a fun thing to do later with my Active 2030 Club. We're doing an escape room. It was something that we were supposed to do, you know, like spring, or yeah, I guess spring of 2020, and we're finally now getting to do it. It happens to be right by my co-working space, so I'll kind of like chunk that part of the afternoon as that, and probably my workout as well. So it's a reading vlog. What am I reading? It's 5 minutes and I haven't talked about a book. So it is the last day of July and I have 100 pages left, or just under 100 pages left in Persuasion by Jane Austen. So I'd like to finish this. I also have, I don't know, a good ways to go in Bridget Jones's Diary. I'm not super loving it. I really like the movie. This is the first time reading the book, and I don't know if it's just because it hasn't aged well, or if it's because of what I do for a living. The whole like weight and food thing just really gets me. Like every single day, it's literally told like as a diary, and every single entry starts off with, I'll give you an example. 126 pounds, alcohol units 7, oh dear, cigarettes 30, calories, cannot bear to think about it, lottery tickets 1, excellent. Every single one of these starts with that, and it just like, it makes me crazy. And it almost makes me want to do like a video about just, if I like added up all of her calories over a certain amount of day and kind of like estimated her calorie burn, like I was her nutrition coach, like what the outcome would be, and also just kind of like talk about like the terrible relationship with food and her body that she has. So that might be like a cool video idea, either for this channel or for, is it this channel, or my other channel, Reformed Health Coach, because I think it is probably something that still goes on with a lot of people. It's just so blatant in this book. It really, for me, takes me out of the actual story. And then also, we're a good ways through, and the Mark Darcy character is the Mark Darcy character. The character, Mark Darcy, is in the book at this point, but in my recollection of the movie, he is much more a part of it much earlier on, and there's much more of like an actual like chemistry and relationship happening, and kind of this like love triangle thing happening between Mark Darcy and what's the other guy's name? Daniel and Bridget, and it's not really there yet. Like Mark Darcy is here, but there's not really any interest between them. They're just very adversarial at this point, and so I'm just kind of like reading it because I want to have it read, and it's like a 3-star-ish for me at the moment. But there's that. And then Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence. This has kind of been my more like on the go book, having it in the car with me. I'll actually read it at the gym, like walking on the treadmill, or in between sets even, read like a page between while I rest between sets. So I'm gonna get to reading some of these. I'm gonna dig back into Persuasion. I read for about 45 minutes earlier, and so I'm gonna get back to that and see how far I can make it. Let's see, it's 9:24, so yeah, I'll do like a 35-minute reading chunk, and before I allow myself to like get distracted by anything else. Alexa, set a timer for 35 minutes.
35 minutes, starting now.
So I'm parked in front of the gym. I got a total of about an hour of reading. I did like that 35 minutes of Persuasion, and then a half an hour of Bridget Jones' Diary. And then I brought Bridget Jones' Diary with me because I really kind of started to fly through it. So I think this will be what I read while I'm at the gym. And what's nice about it, because it's told in that diary form, there's a lot of really good like stopping points. So I was noticing I was just feeling like really kind of sleepy, like I could have just easily fallen asleep, but I think that was more just because of like I wasn't doing anything and I was just kind of like sitting around and reading, and so just getting a little bit of movement, getting out of the house, I know is going to help me. So I think I'm probably just going to walk on the treadmill for about 15 minutes while I read this, just kind of get the blood flowing, get my energy up a little bit. And then I'm gonna do an upper body workout and then head over to my co-working space, get some work done before it's time to do the escape room with my friends. We're doing the escape room right now. We're in like a old-timey gold rush era building, actually. Truly, we are. But that's the bar that we're in. We were trying to escape the bar. But we think we need the next song to play on the jukebox before we can continue. I'm tired of Phil Collins anyway.
Ask if we need a different key for... Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta get out. Yeah, I know.
Okay, what's extra cool about this is that this is legitimately like
A real room that existed.
yeah, like a real room that existed, like 1800s, like actual stone from the gold rush, and like I don't know, maybe that's like a real safe. Pretty cool. Now we have to figure out how to get out of the actual room. We did it. It took multiple times to put it in, and for some reason it wasn't working. Many things actually weren't working, but we did it. And we are still in the catacombs, and it looks really cool in here. Like, this stuff is new, but this stuff is like gold country, gold rush era stone. So this elevator right here, which is actually storage for chairs, is the oldest elevator this side of the Mississippi. So for California standards, this is actually a very old building in a very old little town of historic Folsom. So that was really fun. We escaped the escape room, despite some things not quite being perfect in the setup of it. We would like get something right, but then the thing that was supposed to happen didn't happen, and then the guy would have to be like on the TV screen behind us and like ping, like, oh wait, that was supposed to work. Sorry, be right there. So we escaped, and then we went and ate. There's like a bar and grill, and so we went and ate and just hung out. It was a really nice time, and you know, it's like this old historic building from the Gold Rush era. So it's kind of this cool mix of like, kind of like a modern, what's that? Like urban, what's the name of that store? Restoration Hardware. Kind of like wood metal combo, but then with like some original stone and brick from the 1840s and 50s. And then we went over to Alice's ice cream and got ice cream cone and sat and ate those, and then just kind of hung out a little bit on Sutter Street, and that was it. So now I'm back at my co-working space. I'm just gonna basically get a run inside and grab my keys and head home for the night, and then hopefully sit back down. I've been lugging around Bridget Jones with me. I actually had it like tucked in the back of my shorts while we were in the escape room. Yeah, so I should go home and read and actually get some more reading done. So I think I've done about 2 hours of reading today. So it's 7:17, so hopefully I can get another at least hour or two of reading in before I go to bed tonight. So I just stopped in at CVS on my way home. Aunt Flo is on her way, and I only have a couple ibuprofen left, so I stopped in for some ibuprofen. Like in any moment I'm expecting her arrival. But as of yesterday, masks are required indoors again in California, and literally the only mask I can find is one of the original, like homemade ones, like the first one that I got last year, and the elastic is not very long on it, and even though I'm small, it like pulls my ears forward, and it's really uncomfortable to wear it for more than like 5 minutes or so at a time. So I picked up a couple new masks. Like, where do they go? Are you losing your mask? Have you lost your masks? I've probably had half a dozen masks, over the last year, and literally this one is the only one that I know where it actually is. I'm gonna turn the AC back on. Anyway, now I'm actually headed home, all stocked up for my impending pain. Good morning, it is 8:21. I've been up for maybe like an hour reading Persuasion, and I read a bit, probably like a half hour or so last night, before I fell asleep on the couch reading it. And I have to say, probably the last 30, 40 pages is kind of like I really got into it. I was kind of just plodding along with it before. Interested in parts, but I'm just not like a natural Jane Austen fan, I think. And so it's not until the plot has really kind of picked up in the last little bit that it's really kind of pulled me in. Also dealing with some fun cramps right now. Dealing with it in the winter I think is a lot easier, but because you can really like snuggle up, and for me, like, warmth really helps. Like, I have this like stuffed dog right over my belly, and so I would normally like wrap a blanket around me or something, but it's too hot to do that. So I have like the fan blowing on me, I have like one leg out, my dog is on the other leg, so I'm just kind of like dealing with that. So I didn't sleep great last night either, because I woke up in pain and all that. But anyway, hopefully the end of this book will help me feel better, I guess. I'm pretty sure I left Bridget Jones' diary in my car, so maybe I'll go get that later when I finish this, because I was really moving quickly toward the end of that. So I think I can finish both of these probably this morning, if I don't get too distracted with anything else. Yeah, like you. So Persuasion is, I would say it's the second novel, the second Jane Austen novel I've read. I read Pride and Prejudice, and I also listened to, I think it was last summer, because it was during 2020, Jen Campbell did like this weekly like live reading on her Instagram, and then she put it together, and it's on her YouTube channel as well, and it's like her basically doing the audiobook of Pride and Prejudice, and she does a really, really great job. So I re-listened to it then. I have listened to Lady Susan. Maybe I did that during Jane Austen July last year. And years and years ago, probably like 12 or so years ago, I like read Emma. It took me forever to get through it. Like, my eyes and brain like decoded the words, but I have absolutely no recollection of it. I remember just like trying to read it and really not understanding it. Probably also took way too long to try to read it, so yeah, I essentially didn't read it. I want to be a Jane Austen fan. I just don't seem to be that like enamored and pulled in by the story. But I'm enjoying Persuasion, and particularly like this latter third or so of it. So I'm going to continue on with that. So something I do really like about Persuasion is the circumstances, like the economic circumstances that the Elliots are in, the main character's family, and there's a lot of conversation about class and money, and like titles versus like having a title versus actually having money, and what it means to kind of have to downgrade. And it it kind of makes me think of like Kazuo Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day or Downton Abbey, and especially because I think to Americans the whole idea of like titles is like a very foreign concept, especially like out west. Like, there's no old money on the west, and so I just think that the whole conversations around having to kind of not conversations, but the circumstances that they're in this novel is that Anne Elliot's family do have titles. Her dad is a baron, and they have to basically rent out like the big estate home and move into a smaller house. And so just even in throwing like a dinner party, some of this kind of comes to light, and to be seen with having like fewer servants or whatever, or still being in the social class with the same people that you were before, maybe when you had more money, and then now not. So I like that kind of like background situation that's happening in this book. And then we're kind of getting to a little bit more of the, I think the reason that have become more interested in this last kind of third of the book is that as far as your relationships go, there's this one relationship that, you know, it was like it started at the very beginning. From the beginning of the book, there was a past relationship with Captain Wentworth, and a very close family friend, Lady Russell, basically didn't approve, and so Anne and Captain Wentworth did not get married. The relationship was over. He's now kind of back in her life and in his like social circle wise, and she very much wants to be with him, but there are other men kind of in the periphery as well, and including her cousin, the actual heir to the estate, and the title of Baron as well. And so it's just getting a lot more interesting as far as, you know, the plot and things that are actually happening. So I think I had a pretty successful reading weekend. It's Monday morning. I read about 5 total hours over the weekend, which it could have been more, but it was so much progress compared to what it has been. I know for me, setting a timer, knowing if there's something that needs to get done, knowing like I'm going to do that at 2:00, so I'm not constantly just like thinking about that thing, really helps me. And doing time blocks like in my own work life has really helped me kind of be okay with that. And I finished both books. So I finished Persuasion yesterday afternoon, and then I went on to Bridget Jones' Diary, and I actually finished that this morning. I was trying so hard to finish it last night, and just my eyelids just got too heavy, and so I finished it this morning. By the way, how much do you hate this cover? I know the 20th, I think it's the 20th anniversary edition, has like a pair of like the granny panties on the front. It's really cute. I would prefer that edition, but I ended up really liking this as much as the whole diet and body, just like the lack of love for her body, bothers me. I love the way that we're in her head, and it's almost like this stream of consciousness type of thing, and it is very real to how a woman thinks, and it really makes me want to kind of go back and watch the movie. And even possibly continue on with the series, because I think, as I mentioned yesterday, it was kind of annoying kind of how little Mark Darcy was a part of the book toward the beginning. He's just kind of like this character that exists in the periphery, and she's constantly being he's kind of being put in her face by like her mom and her mom's best friend, and Mark Darcy this, Mark Darcy that. More of like that pressuring to get married, have kids, that kind of thing. He's a good catch, rather than Bridget actually having any sort of relationship with him, which then develops way later down the line. So ended up really enjoying this. And as far as Persuasion goes, I really did like the more of the end, like the last third or so. I felt like it finally kind of got going. I still don't feel like I know who Anne Elliot is very well as a character. And maybe if I reread it, because I know the story now, maybe I would be able to see things maybe that I didn't see this time. I'm still not a huge Jane Austen fan. I really want to like it. I don't kind of get it, I suppose. I really liked some of the historical context of it, and kind of the like the decline of the old like aristocracy and the kind of like the old money and inherited wealth and status, and like the rise of kind of more of the meritocracy, and that's kind of represented by the Navy. Like a lot of the kind of eligible male characters in the story are in the Navy, and that's how they have come to be successful and come into money, is through their own hard work, as is the case with Captain Wentworth, who is kind of the love interest in the story. So yeah, ultimately I did enjoy it. I would still choose Pride and Prejudice over Persuasion just because more happens. There's more plot, but I do kind of generally like a slower character-based novel. I just don't feel like I got Anne Elliot enough as a character. So in my head, I'm kind of comparing this to Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, which is a very slow character-based novel. I think we basically are in like 2 settings the entire time, maybe a little of a third. Not a lot happens, but I feel like we get to know. Shirley's not even the main character. I can't remember the name of the main character. The main character who's not Shirley. We get to know her much better than we get to know Anne Elliot. So I think that's kind of where this one loses me a little bit. But anyway, it was a successful reading weekend. I feel that, I gave myself that joy that I was looking for. I did spend time like on social media on my phone, because in part I have to do that a lot for work. But I feel like I was able to kind of keep a much better wrap on that and rein myself in, and using timers and just kind of like time blocks basically was a really helpful way for me to do that, even on the weekend. And for some people that might feel like really restrictive, but for me, I felt like I was just not doing the things that I really wanted to do. And so by kind of scheduling that time in, it was really helpful for me. So thank you guys for watching. See you around the tubes.